My brother laughed as he snatched another check from my hand, mocking my meager clerk salary while I funded his lifestyle. In this military revenge story, he didn't know the 4-star general walking toward us at the gala wasn't coming to shake his hand, but to salute me. My name is Kaylee Cruz. For the last 10 years, I have lived 2 completely different lives. To the world and to my country, I was a ghost, an operative in the highest echelons of military intelligence, a woman who had led extraction teams out of hostile territories and coordinated logistics for operations that wouldn't be declassified for another 50 years. I held the rank of lieutenant colonel, a distinction I had earned through blood, sweat, and sacrifices that most people could not even imagine. But to my family, I was just Kaylee, the disappointment. To them, I was the unambitious, mousy-haired data entry clerk who worked in a windowless basement at a government recruitment center, filing paperwork for people who were actually doing something with their lives. It wasn't that I wanted to lie to them. In the beginning, the secrecy was a matter of national security. When you work in the sector I do, you don't go home and tell your mother about your day. You don't talk about the close calls or the assets you had to protect. You say you filed reports. You say the coffee machine broke. You make yourself boring so that no one looks too closely. But over time, the lie became a test. I watched how my parents and my brother, Derek, treated the boring version of me. I watched them sneer at my supposed lack of ambition. I watched them take advantage of the modest salary I claimed to earn, while I secretly stockpiled a significant fortune from my hazard pay and officer's salary into trusts and investments they knew nothing about. Our family dynamic had always been skewed, but it became unbearable once Derek decided he was an entrepreneur. Derek was 2 years younger than me, and in my parents' eyes, he could do no wrong. He was the golden child, the one with the charisma, the smile, and the big ideas. The problem was, Derek had never finished a project in his life. He bounced from one get-rich-quick scheme to another, leaving a trail of debt and broken promises in his wake. And every single time he fell, my parents were there to catch him, usually using my money to do it. I remember a specific Tuesday about 3 years ago. I had just returned from a 6-month deployment. I was exhausted. I had shrapnel scarring on my left shoulder that was still healing, and I was mentally decomposing from a mission that had gone sideways in a way I still have nightmares about. I had come to my parents' house hoping for a warm meal and maybe, just maybe, a welcome home. Instead, I walked into a crisis. Derek was sitting at the kitchen table, his head in his hands, while my mother paced the floor, wringing a dish towel. "Kaylee, thank God you're here," my mother said, not asking how I was or why I looked 10 pounds lighter than the last time she saw me. "Your brother is in trouble." I dropped my duffel bag, filled with tactical gear hidden under dirty laundry, by the door. "What happened now?" I asked, my voice raspy. "It's not my fault," Derek snapped, looking up with red-rimmed eyes. "It was a sure thing. The crypto exchange was supposed to triple the investment. I was going to pay everyone back." "He lost the investors' money, Kaylee," my father chimed in, walking in from the living room. He didn't even look at me. He just gestured to Derek. "He needs $15,000 by Friday, or they're going to press charges for fraud." I stared at them. I had $15,000. I had 10 times that sitting in a liquid account designated for emergencies. But that wasn't the point. "You want me to pay for his fraud?" I asked. "It's not fraud if he pays it back," my mother shrieked. "Kaylee, how can you be so selfish? You live in that tiny apartment, you don't have a husband, you don't have children, you just sit at that desk all day typing numbers. What else are you spending your money on?" I felt the phantom pain in my shoulder throb. "I spend it on rent," I said quietly. "You have savings," my father said, his voice dropping to that authoritative tone he used to intimidate me when I was a child. "We know you do. You're cheap. You never buy nice clothes. You never go on vacation. You have the money. Give it to your brother." If you are enjoying this story, please like and subscribe. Also, please comment, as your feedback helps to improve the stories coming. I looked at Derek. He wasn't even asking. He was just waiting, expecting it. He felt entitled to my safety net because he believed his potential was worth more than my reality. "Fine," I said. "I'll write a check, but this is the last time." It wasn't the last time. It never was. Over the next few years, the disrespect escalated. They viewed me as a resource, an ATM that dispensed cash and absorbed insults. I was the failure who worked a dead-end government job, while Derek was the visionary who was just one lucky break away from greatness. They mocked my car, a reliable, nondescript sedan chosen for its ability to blend in, and they mocked my clothes. When I visited, I wore plain jeans and sweaters, keeping my uniform and my medals locked away in a safe deposit box. The breaking point began to form a few months ago. Derek had launched a new venture, a high-end security consultation firm. The irony was almost enough to make me laugh out loud. Derek, who couldn't keep a secret to save his life and had never thrown a punch, was trying to sell security services to corporate clients. He was drowning, of course. He needed capital to host a booth at the annual Defense and City Gala. The gala was a prestigious event, a black-tie affair where the city's elite mingled with military brass, defense contractors, and politicians. It was a world I knew well, not from the sidelines, but from the VIP tables. Usually, I skipped the public events to maintain my cover, but this year was different. My unit was being recognized. The Secretary of Defense was flying in. I had received orders that my presence was mandatory, although I would be in civilian attire until the ceremony. My family naturally assumed I wasn't invited. 2 weeks before the event, I was at my parents' house for a mandatory Sunday dinner. Derek was buzzing with nervous energy. "I got the tickets," he announced, slamming an envelope on the table. 3 VIP passes for the gala." "That's wonderful, honey," my mother beamed, spooning more potatoes onto his plate while ignoring mine. "You're going to meet so many investors." "I need to look the part," Derek said, his eyes sliding over to me. "Tables are $5,000 a pop, but just getting in cost me everything I had left. I need a new suit, and Mom needs a gown." They all looked at me. "Don't look at me," I said, pushing my peas around my plate. "I'm tapped out." "You are not," Derek scoffed. "You got that cost of living adjustment last month. I saw the mail on your counter. Stop holding out on us, Kaylee. This is my big break. I'm going to be rubbing elbows with generals. When I land a contract, I'll pay you back double." I knew he wouldn't. I also knew that if I didn't give him the money, the emotional blackmail would be relentless. They would call me at work. They would show up at my apartment. It was easier to pay the Derek tax to keep them away from my real life. "How much?" I asked. $2,000, he said. I wrote the check. As I handed it to him, he snatched it from my fingers, checking the amount with a sneer. "You know," he said, tucking it into his pocket, "it's actually sad. You work your whole life for pennies, saving up like a little squirrel, just so I can actually do something important with it. You should thank me, Kaylee. I'm giving your money a purpose." I didn't say anything. I just took a sip of water and thought about the fact that General Sterling, the man Derek was dying to meet, had personally pinned the silver star on my chest 6 months ago in a classified ceremony in Jalalabad. The day of the gala arrived. I had told my family I was working late, a lie they accepted without question. In reality, I was at a secure hotel suite, prepping with my team. "You ready for this, Colonel?" my sergeant major asked, adjusting his tie. He looked uncomfortable in the dress blues. We were used to dust and Kevlar. "I'm ready to get it over with, honestly," I replied, smoothing down the skirt of my dress. I wasn't wearing my uniform yet. That was part of the protocol for the evening's reveal. I was wearing a stunning, floor-length navy gown that cost more than Derek's car, but I had a heavy trench coat over it to keep a low profile until the ceremony began. We arrived at the venue separately. I entered through a side security entrance, checking in with the detail. The ballroom was magnificent, dripping with crystals and gold. Men in dress uniforms and women in couture gowns filled the space. I stayed in the shadows near the back, observing. It was habit. Then I saw them. My family made quite an entrance. Derek was wearing a tuxedo that was a little too shiny, a little too tight. My mother was draped in sequins, and my father looked uncomfortable but proud. They were scanning the room like predators looking for prey. I watched Derek approach a group of officers. I could tell from their body language that they were polite but uninterested. Derek was talking too much, using buzzwords he didn't understand. He was trying to sell cybersecurity solutions to men who ran cyber warfare divisions. It was painful to watch. I decided to grab a drink from the bar, keeping my coat buttoned. I intended to stay invisible until the presentation, but as fate would have it, Derek spotted me. He didn't look happy. He looked furious. He marched over, abandoning his conversation, with our parents trailing behind him. "What the hell are you doing here?" he hissed, grabbing my arm. I pulled my arm away gently but firmly. "I was invited, Derek." "Invited?" My mother laughed, a harsh, brittle sound. "Kaylee, this is a $500 a plate dinner. Did you sneak in?" "I'm here for work," I lied, partially. "Oh, God," Derek groaned, covering his face. "You're working the coat check? Or are you a server? Kaylee, please tell me you are not serving hors d'oeuvres while I am trying to close deals with the military elite. It's embarrassing." "I'm not a server," I said calmly. "Then leave," my father commanded. He looked around nervously. "If anyone finds out my daughter is crashing this party, it reflects poorly on Derek. We are trying to project success, Kaylee. You project mediocrity." That word stung. Mediocrity. I had learned 4 languages. I was a marksman. I had negotiated treaties with warlords. But to them, I was mediocre because I didn't flash cash I didn't have. "I'm staying," I said. "And you might want to be careful who you talk to, Derek. These people aren't stupid." Derek stepped into my space, looming over me. He was used to intimidating me physically, unaware that I could dismantle him in 3 seconds without spilling my drink. "Listen to me, you jealous little leech," he whispered, his face inches from mine. "I know you're jealous. I know you hate that I'm the one with the future. But don't you dare ruin this for me. Go sit in the corner, or better yet, go wait in the car." He reached out and poked me in the chest, right where my dress covered the scar from a bullet graze. "Go wait in the car." I looked at him, really looked at him. I saw the fear behind his eyes. He was terrified of failing, and instead of working harder, he just pushed me down to make himself feel tall. "No," I said. Before he could explode, the room's lighting changed. The heavy chatter died down as the spotlights swept toward the main stage. A voice boomed over the PA system. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Secretary of Defense, accompanied by General Marcus Sterling." The room went silent. Derek froze, his anger instantly replaced by a desperate hunger. He turned toward the center aisle. "That's him," he whispered to my father. "That's Sterling. If I can just shake his hand." The double doors opened and the entourage entered. Security detail flanked the sides, but walking down the center were the heavy hitters. Secretary Miller and General Sterling looked imposing, their medals gleaming under the lights. They were walking straight down the aisle toward the stage. We were standing near the edge of the path. Derek adjusted his tie. He stepped forward, actually stepping in front of me to block my view. He prepared to thrust his hand out. This was his moment. He was going to ambush a 4-star general. "General Sterling," Derek called out, his voice slightly too loud in the respectful silence. "General, a moment of your time. Derek Cruz, CEO of Cruz Security." General Sterling stopped. He stopped right in front of us. Derek beamed, his hand extended, ignoring the Secret Service agent who started to move toward him. But General Sterling didn't look at Derek. He didn't even blink at him. His steely gray eyes looked right over Derek's shoulder. He looked at me. The general's expression, usually stone cold, softened just a fraction. He stepped around Derek as if my brother were a piece of furniture. Derek stood there, hand extended, confused. He turned to see who the general was looking at. General Sterling stopped 2 feet from me. The silence in the immediate area was deafening. My mother gasped. My father looked like he was having a stroke. The general didn't speak immediately. He stood tall, snapped his heels together, and slowly, deliberately raised his hand in a crisp salute. I didn't salute back. I was in civilian attire, and technically I was currently off the clock until the ceremony started. But the gesture was a sign of immense respect, one that violated protocol in the best possible way. "Lieutenant Colonel," the general said, his voice carrying clearly, "it is an honor to finally see you on home soil." I nodded, keeping my face neutral, though my heart was hammering. "Thank you, General." Derek made a noise that sounded like a dying cat. "Lieutenant Colonel?" he stuttered. The general turned his head slowly to look at Derek, his eyes narrowing. He looked at Derek's cheap suit, his sweaty face, and then back to me. "Is this civilian bothering you, Colonel Cruz?" the general asked. His tone suggested that if the answer was yes, Derek would be removed from existence, not just the room. I looked at my brother. I saw his world crumbling. I saw the realization hitting him like a freight train. "He's family, sir," I said, my voice cool. "He was just leaving."
The general grunted. "A wise decision. We need you on stage, Colonel. The secretary has been looking forward to reading your citation personally." The general offered me his arm. I unbuttoned my trench coat and let it slide off my shoulders. Beneath it, the navy gown was elegant, but I reached into my clutch and pulled out the miniature rack of medals I was required to wear for the ceremony. The Silver Star, the Purple Heart, the Legion of Merit. I pinned them quickly to the sash of my dress. My mother put her hand over her mouth. My father was pale. I took the general's arm. We walked away, leaving my family standing there in the middle of the crowd, mouths gaping open. As we walked toward the stage, I could feel the eyes of the room on me. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't hiding. The ceremony was a blur of speeches and applause. The Secretary of Defense spoke about a mission in the kinetic regions of the Middle East, detailing how a covert logistics and intelligence unit had secured the extraction of 3 aid workers and neutralized a high-value target. He spoke of leadership under fire. He spoke of me. "Lieutenant Colonel Kaylee Cruz," he announced. I walked to the podium. The applause was thunderous. I looked out into the crowd and saw the VIP table where my family had been moved by security, not to honor them, but to keep them contained. They looked small. They looked terrified. After the ceremony, the dynamic of the room shifted. I was no longer the invisible woman. I was surrounded by admirals and CEOs wanting to shake my hand. I was offered drinks, jobs, and consultations. About an hour later, I finally made my way over to where my family was sitting. They were alone. No one was talking to them. Derek was slumped in his chair, staring at the floor. My parents looked up as I approached. "Kaylee," my mother started, her voice trembling. We didn't know." "You didn't ask," I said simply. "Why didn't you tell us?" my father demanded, though his voice lacked its usual fire. It was weak. "We thought you were a clerk." "I let you think I was a clerk," I corrected him, "because it was safer, and because I wanted to see who you were when you thought I was nothing." Derek looked up. There was no arrogance left in him, just a pathetic sort of calculation. "So, you're rich?" he asked. "Officers make bank, right? And you have all those benefits?" I almost laughed. Even now, after everything, his mind went straight to the money. "Yes, Derek, I do very well." "Then why," he gestured vaguely, "why did you let us struggle? Why did you make me beg for peanuts when you could have funded my company easily?" I leaned in close, placing my hands on the table. "Because you are a black hole, Derek. You don't build things, you destroy them. And I was never funding your dreams. I was paying a ransom to keep you people out of my life so I could focus on saving lives that actually mattered." "You're our daughter," my mother cried, tears streaming down her face. "We're family." "Family doesn't steal," I said, my voice hardening. "Family doesn't ridicule. Family doesn't treat someone like garbage because they think she's poor." I stood up straight. "I'm done. The checks stop today. The bailouts stop today." "But the investors," Derek whispered. "I told them I had an in with the military."
You don't, I said. And if you ever use my name or my rank to try and scam anyone again, I won't send a lawyer. I will send the military police, and you will go to federal prison for impersonating an associate of a high-ranking officer. Do you understand me? Derek nodded, terrified. Good. I turned to walk away, but my father stood up. Kaylee, wait! Where are you going? Can we get a ride home? Our car is parked miles away in the economy lot. I looked at them one last time, the people who had called me a failure, the people who had laughed at my meager life while spending my money. No, I said, I think you should walk. It builds character. I turned my back on them and walked toward the exit. Outside, a black government SUV was waiting for me. The driver, a young corporal, opened the door and saluted. Ready to go, Colonel? He asked. I looked back at the gala hall, then at the night sky. For the first time in 10 years, I didn't feel the weight of the lie. I felt light. Take me home, Corporal, I said. The aftermath was swift and brutal for them, though I only heard about it through the grapevine. Without my financial support, Derek's company collapsed within a month. He was sued by several vendors he had stiffed, and without my money to pay for a lawyer, he ended up with a fraud conviction on his record. He's currently working shifts at a warehouse, an honest job, finally, though he hates every minute of it. My parents tried to reach out a few times. They sent letters mostly, guilt trips mixed with awe. They told their friends that their daughter was a war hero, trying to garner sympathy and social credit. But in our small town, word travels fast. People knew how they had treated me. They knew about the theft and the ridicule. The social elite they so desperately wanted to impress shunned them, not because they were poor, but because they were dishonorable. As for me, I didn't just cut them off financially, I cut them off emotionally. I changed my number. I sold the small apartment they knew about and moved into a secure property closer to the base. I realized that night at the gala that I did have a family. It wasn't the people who shared my DNA, it was the men and women who stood beside me in the sand, the general who saluted me when the world was watching, and the people who respected me for who I was, not what I could give them. I am Colonel Kaylee Cruz. I am not a failure, and I am finally free. If you believe the truth always finds a way out, like the video and please comment and subscribe if you enjoyed the story and want more revenge stories where betrayal meets consequences. Your feedback helps me to improve the videos.